2012 DA14. 2012 DA14 is a city block-sized asteroid that on February 15, 2013 passed closer to Earth than our own TV satellites. At roughly 45 meters wide and traveling at 7.8 kilometers per second, it slipped just 27,700 kilometers from the surface, inside the orbital ring of geostationary satellites sitting at 35,000 kilometers. NASA had only discovered it about a year before. Had it hit, it would have released roughly 2.4 megatons of energy, enough to level a major city. Nobody on the ground could see it with the naked eye, but it was threading the needle between Earth and its own technological infrastructure, silently and precisely. 99,942 Apophis 99,942 Apophis is named after the Egyptian god of chaos, and it earned that name immediately upon discovery in 2004. Within weeks of being spotted, calculations placed its impact probability for 2029 at 2.7%, the highest ever recorded for a known object of its size. Around 370 meters wide, a rock that large hitting Earth would release energy equivalent to thousands of nuclear weapons and cause regional devastation on a continental scale. The probability was later refined to 0 for both 2029 and 2036, though its trajectory continues to be studied. Its 2029 flyby will bring it within 31,000 kilometers, close enough to see with the naked eye from parts of Europe and Africa. 4,179 Tutatis doesn't spin like a normal asteroid. It tumbles. Its rotation is chaotic, wobbling on multiple axes simultaneously, giving it the unsettling motion of something thrown rather than something orbiting. Shaped like a peanut, two lobes fused together over ancient low-speed collisions. It measures roughly 4.5 kilometers end to end. In 2004, it passed Earth at about 1.5 million kilometers, and in 2012, China's Chang'e 2 spacecraft flew within just 3 kilometers of its surface, capturing the closest imagery ever taken of it. The radar images showed a battered, dark, irregularly shaped mass slowly cartwheeling through space, completely indifferent to anything in its path. 1950 DA was discovered in 1950, promptly lost and rediscovered in 2000, at which point scientists realized it holds the highest known impact probability of any tracked asteroid over the next several centuries, with a possible encounter on March 16, 2080. At roughly 1.1 kilometers wide, an impact would be extinction level for large regions of the planet. What makes it genuinely strange is that it spins so fast, completing a rotation every 2.1 hours, that it should physically fly apart. The only thing holding it together, according to a 2014 study from Purdue and the University of Texas, is van der Waals force, the same molecular attraction that allows geckos to walk on ceilings. It is essentially a rubble pile held together by static cling. 2023 DW appeared in telescope data in February 2023 and immediately climbed to the top of both NASA and ESA planetary risk lists. At around 57 meters wide, it was assigned a Torino scale rating of 1, a designation meaning the object is worthy of serious attention, and briefly carried a roughly 1 in 432 chance of hitting Earth on February 5, 2046. The coverage was immediate and widespread. Then, within weeks, additional observations refined its orbit and the probability collapsed to 0. It was cleared completely. But the episode illustrated something uncomfortable. Objects this size can appear in our sky with less than 25 years of warning, already on a potential collision course, and we might not know until very recently. Chelyabinsk meteoroid. The Chelyabinsk meteoroid was never detected before it hit. February 15, 2013, the same morning, 2012 DA14 was making its celebrated close flyby completely unrelated. A 20-meter wide rock entered the atmosphere over Russia at roughly 18 kilometers per second and detonated 23 kilometers above the ground with an energy release of approximately 500 kilotons, about 30 times the power of the Hiroshima bomb. The airburst shattered windows across 6 cities. More than 1,500 people were injured almost entirely from broken glass. Thousands of buildings were damaged. Because it came from the direction of the sun, no telescope had caught it beforehand. Dashcam footage from across the Chelyabinsk region captured the whole thing, a streak of white light brighter than the sun, followed by a shock wave that hit minutes later. Tunguska object. On June 30th, 1908, something entered Earth's atmosphere over a remote stretch of Siberia and exploded before it ever touched the ground. The blast flattened approximately 2,000 square kilometers of forest, an area roughly the size of a major metropolitan region, snapping 80 million trees outward from a central point like matchsticks. No crater was ever found because the object, estimated at somewhere between 50 and 80 meters wide, detonated entirely in the air. The energy released is estimated at somewhere between 10 and 15 megatons. Nobody died, but only because the region was nearly uninhabited. Scientists debated for decades whether it was a comet or an asteroid. Current consensus leans toward a small asteroid or comet fragment, though the question isn't fully settled. 2004, MN4, the 48-hour alarm. Before it was renamed Apophis, the asteroid was cataloged as 2004 MN4, and for approximately 48 hours in December 2004, it carried the most alarming designation ever assigned to a confirmed space object. Astronomers at multiple independent observatories calculated an impact probability of 2.7% for 2029 and gave it a Torino scale rating of 4, the highest ever for a real object, meaning a close encounter with regional devastation was considered plausible. Rating 4 had never been assigned to anything real before and hasn't been since. The scientific community was quietly alarmed. Additional observations collected over the following days refined the orbital data, and the probability dropped to 0. The event directly accelerated international investment in planetary defense systems and changed how seriously governments treated the asteroid risk. 3,122 Florence. 3,122. Florence is named after Florence Nightingale, which is perhaps the most ironic name possible for something that, had it deviated slightly, would have caused mass casualties on a global scale. At roughly 4.9 kilometers wide, it is the largest asteroid to pass this close to Earth since systematic tracking began, flying by on September 1, 2017 at a distance of about 7 million kilometers, approximately 18 times the distance to the Moon. During the flyby, radar imaging conducted at Goldstone Observatory revealed something unexpected. Florence has 2 small moons orbiting it, a nearly 5-kilometer wide asteroid silently accompanied by 2 captured rocks drifting past Earth like a miniature solar system. An impact from an object this size would be a civilization-ending event. It passed without incident. The 2029 Apophis flyby. On April 13, 2029, a Friday the 13th, Apophis will pass Earth at a distance of roughly 31,600 kilometers, closer than the satellites that broadcast television signals to your home. At 370 meters wide, it will be visible to the naked eye from Europe, Africa, and Western Asia, a point of light moving visibly across the sky, faster than a satellite, watched by billions of people who will know exactly what they're looking at and exactly how close it is. Multiple space agencies are planning missions to intercept it during the flyby, including ESA's proposed Ramses mission. Its path will carry it through the gravitational keyhole zone where Earth's pull could alter its future trajectory, making precise post-flyby tracking critical for assessing its 2068 risk window. The Chicxulub impactor. The Chicxulub impactor is the reason everything else on this list needs a frame of reference. In the range of 100 teratons of TNT, a number so large it requires context to understand. The largest nuclear weapon ever detonated released roughly 50 megatons. Chicxulub released roughly 2 million times that. The impact triggered global wildfires, mega tsunamis, years of impact winter from debris blocking the sun, and acid rain across the planet. Approximately 75% of all species on Earth went extinct, including every non-avian dinosaur. The crater it left is 180 kilometers wide and still detectable from orbit today. Every other asteroid on this list is smaller. Most of them are much smaller. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.